Good day, pilots. Today we are going to learn how to sim. I will be doing this on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. That being said, I believe this works the same on 2024. Don't quote me, look up if there are differences. But from what I understand, it's pretty much the same thing. Personally, I use 2020 for a few different reasons. I'm not going to get into too much of that, but I just have heard and know that some of the mods that I use are easier to do. Couple other reasons are just because there's less bugs, I guess, and 2020 is already buggy enough. And you'll see what I mean as we go along here. So the first thing you're going to need to have are SimBrief and FlyByWire Sim. So go to FlyByWire and SimBrief, or excuse me, SimBrief. So we're going to start out with SimBrief. You're going to want to go on their website and create a free account. And then you're going to go to new flight and you're going to edit your flight. Your new flight will just have all of this blank. Coming into this, I'm assuming that you have experience in aviation already. So you have the basics, meaning you understand the lingo, you understand how to configure the airplane for takeoff, cruise, landing, etc. If you know how to do that, you can translate that in to the Airbus A320 pretty easily. There is a learning curve. There will be, obviously, with everything. But it will translate pretty easily, and I will show you how to do all that. So first things first, get your SimBrief account all activated. And the main things you are going to have to deal with. Most of the stuff is automatic, but you need to make sure that your aircraft type is selected to the proper one. And it's not just any of them. It has to be this specific one right here. For the one I'm using anyways, and I will show you that as well. And then you have to choose the variant. So if you're going to follow along, just use this exact same thing for the exact same one that I'm using. Make sure to change that. Don't worry about anything else. It will be automatically assigned unless you have details that you're already going to put in there and you know what you're doing in a flight plan. Don't worry about it. The things you will need to type in are just the departure and the arrival. So just if you are going to follow along with this flight, just type in these exact letters, click search, it'll find those. Last thing we need to do is just verify our route. This is all the information that it's going to spit out to give your flight management computer, which is called the MCDU in the airplane itself. So we're just looking at that to make sure it looks right. And then we're going to generate. After you generate it, you got to download it. When you first go to download a file, it is in a weird format. It looks completely, I don't think it looks like this even. It just has the file names. To fix that, change your format around, then it will be alphabetical. Scroll down to whichever flight simulator you are using. We are on 2020. Do not get the file without the SID and the star. You do not want that one. Download the one that does have your SID and your star. And then you're going to have to put it in the proper folder. So FlyByWire, which is the program that we're going to be using, requires that the flight plan be in a specific spot. That's just going to be in the FlyByWire Sim folder itself, which is located in Documents. I created this folder. It won't be there by default. I created this one. This is where the system will read everything automatically. So once you have that created, just move that flight plan file over, and then it'll be ready for you when you log in. That's all you need to do with SimBrief. You're done. You're done there for now, or actually for good. Next thing you're going to want to do is go into FlyByWire. I'm assuming you guys have that downloaded and you already have it installed. Just one thing I do want to bring up really quick here. With the A32NX mod itself, there is what's called a development and a stable version. The development version is just the latest stable version's beta, meaning the stable version that comes out next is just going to be that development version. Usually it's pretty consistent. If you are going to go with the development version, there are a lot of updates, so make sure you check every time to make sure there's not an update, because if you get into the cockpit and it's not updated, you're going to have to come back. After you got that, you can pick either one, by the way. Either one of these will follow along with what I'm doing tonight. So choose which one of these you want, have that updated and installed, and then come down here to this thing called SimBrief. You're going to want to install that, have that updated, and then have it running. So just make sure that it's running. And that's all you have to do there. Now we can start our actual program. Personally, I just run it through Steam. It's not my favorite thing by any means. It just is what I use for all of my games, and that's where it is. But whatever you use, it will be good to go now. When you install FlyByWire Sim, it will automatically do everything that it needs to do to get started and connected with the program itself. So there is not too much to that. Really, the only thing that is going to be a little, well, actually complicated for somebody that's not used to this aircraft is what's called the MCDU and the actual approach phase itself. Pretty much anybody can get in to this thing, get it running, and get off the ground. If that's all you're looking to do, then we'll get you up in the air quick. If you actually want to fly a route, follow the route, and catch an approach, do an actual ILS approach, things like that, there's going to be a little bit more to it. So again, I'm going to do this whole thing as if you know what you're doing with aviation and you are just coming into the simulator. You don't have to be an expert, just in general, you know how to configure. You don't need to know how to do like anything intricate, just the basics. So if you know that, we're good to go. Also, this particular flight that I'm doing isn't a very beginner-friendly flight. And myself, I'm just getting back into simming after 10 years. So a lot of the reason why I'm doing this is to learn myself. If I am not mastered on something, I will definitely let you know, and I'll let you know my weaknesses right off the bat. So if you are an expert, I always welcome constructive criticism. One bug that I always notice right off the bat in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at least is the stupid more for the space. Sometimes it doesn't show up. If it doesn't show up, just go back and keep loading back in until it does. It eventually will. The next thing you're going to want to make sure you have selected correctly is the aircraft itself. So go into your aircraft selection. And since we're doing the the Airbus A320, it's going to be under airliners. This right here, these are not the proper ones. These are the built-in ones. Make sure that you have this one selected, or you will not be able to do this right. The built-in aircraft, do not have a good system. Do not use those. We are using mods for a reason. Okay, next, you are going to load your flight plan. Spacebar for more, spacebar again for save load, load. Okay, we're going to go into that same exact folder that we saved our flight plan in, and we're going to load it. And then we encounter our next bug. I want to start out from a gate, but it's got me on the runway. So I come down here and try and select a ramp. Oh, look at that, it won't let me. So what do? Well, in order to fix this, go to Direct, and then go ahead and select the ramp that you want, or gate, or whatever you want to call it. And then go ahead and go back to whichever one you were using. In our case, it's going to be high altitude airways and instrument flight rules. Get that selected. We are going from Innsbruck to Geneva with live weather and live flight conditions. One thing I still need to do, I'm still kind of getting this whole system set up right, and I still have some graphics tweaking I need to do. So bear with me for a second. Okay, it is off. Yeah, that's right. And for whatever reason, NVIDIA and Microsoft's anti-aliasing don't want to play nice together. Okay, there we go. It actually did something right for once and kept it loaded. Now, the fun part, getting your MCDU programmed. It can be kind of tricky to start with. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty with it. I'm just going to show you how to take what we just made from that flight plan on SimBrief and bring it into the flight management system, which is called the MCDU in the A320. For you Boeing guys, it is the FMS.
Innsbruck Tower 52 Charlie 525 Heavy IFR to Geneva ready to copy.
Use the ready for taxi in this case by default. Your inertial navigation is going to take about 7 minutes to align. You can change those settings in this tablet right here.
Departure on 124.4 squawk 620 tree.
I have mine set to quick, is what it's called. First thing we're going to want to do is get our passengers going. So I just set it to real. It's kind of cool. It doesn't take that long. And then we are going to make sure to get all of our data. Okay, now what we want to do is enter all of our stuff into the MCDU. The MCDU automatically gets a lot of it, and in order to automatically get most of it, what we want to do is from our MCDU menu, if you get lost, that's this button right here. So just click that, go to ATSU, and from that menu go to AOC and then over to initialize presets, and then you're going to want to initialize data request. That's going to get most of the information you need. You do have to do a couple of things manually. I like to initialize your ZFGs before start, and by doing that, just hit initialize, page over, and your ZFW is just your calculated weight. It's going to do that automatically. Just tap that soft key next to the ZFW twice. Then on your fuel planning, we're going to go ahead and just have it auto plan for us. Next thing we're going to want to do is fix our flight plan. This is where things can get confusing if you don't know what you're doing. You have to clear what's called these discontinuities, and that just means that your computer is confused and doesn't know what it wants you to do next. The Airbus navigates off of what's called logic, and that just means that step by step by step, everything has to be in order for the aircraft to do what you want it to do. So we're going to set up first our departure, and in order to do that, I just clicked that left soft key, and now I'm going over here and looking at my actual departure info. So that's going to be via 08, and then I'm looking at this little number slash whatever you want to call it right there to enter into my system down here. So 08, then you can see right here KPT5J, insert. And that first discontinuity just went away on its own just by doing that. The next thing you're going to want to do is scroll through here. These arrows are mixed up. Just get used to them. I'm not going to tell you down is up and up is down because that'll just throw you off. Just get used to these. They're just reversed. So we're scrolling down. And we're going to see what's going on between these guys. If it's just nothing, you can just clear it. If it says manual, you're going to want to do something different. So if it's 2 waypoints and there's just a disco, just clear it. If it says manual, I will show you what to do here in a second. Okay, now that those are cleared, you're going to come into the bottom here and select your destination, and then we're going to put in our arrival information, and that's going to be these last things right here. So it's going to be an ILS04 for Ben 01N. Okay, then you're going to just insert and then scroll through again to make sure everything is good and there are no discontinuities. If there are, clear them. If it says manual, what you want to do, perfect. So if you have something that says manual, what you want to do is scroll down until your next waypoint. Type that into the scratch pad. So my next one is Indus. Okay, typed in. And then you are going to replace manual with that next one. That should clear it immediately, which it did. Now we just scroll through, scroll through, scroll through, and it looks like we're good to go. No more discos. Okay, now let's just finalize our initial configuration here. So you can see our flaps right here need to be set at 1. This little switch right here needs to be set to the middle. That's
Flight attendants, please
your transponder, so you're not just getting notifications up in the airplane for no reason. Next thing we're going to need to do is set our performance. So come into your performance, come down here to this information right here. If you didn't get these, click fill from data and calculate, and then you'll get this information. The flex temperature and V1, V2, VR, and V2. So we're going from 126, 127 to 131. Flaps set to 164 flex. C1 means cost index. That will be listed on your flight plan in the details. If you don't know, just put 10. Okay, this is the last little bit of information you're going to need before takeoff. If you're familiar with the altimeter, we are in Europe, so we want this set in US, just so we understand. The Q&H right here is your altimeter. That has to do with the pressure of the atmosphere, altitude, temperature, etc. And it will be told to you by the air traffic control. By default, in the United States, it is 2992. In Europe, it is 2991. So under Barrow here, we just enter in the default. That just means whatever it's set to without any adjustment. Transition altitude is usually the same in the United States. It is always 18,000 feet, I believe, but it may be different depending on your flight plan. The last thing we're going to do is just dim our lights. Make sure that all of our people have boarded.
Boarding completed.
If you do the real-time boarding and you switch away from that page, don't expect it to tell you it's done until you click back on this thing. So we're good to go here. Actually, I might need a pushback. Yeah, we are doing a pushback here. Okay, I've never been to this gate before, so now that we are done boarding, just do your pushback. It's an easy system.
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
Typical Microsoft. Two people exactly the same. Could you guys be any more lazy? They just got caught too. Look at them. They know. Like, oh dang it. He knows we're clones. Alright. If the other good thing about using this pushback system is you can use your rudder when you're getting a pushback. The stock one does not allow you to do that for some reason. Rudder and steering, I mean. If you do have a joystick set up, get your settings to where the twist action of your joystick actually does the rudder, and that'll make it so you can steer on the ground. Make sure you set some hotkeys up to bind for your parking brake. You want your flaps. Speed brake would be smart, not necessary. Obviously throttle control and probably autopilot. Nice little map down here too we can use, and then instead of having to push that, you can just hit your parking brake and then it'll stop. Then you can turn everything off. So the
Innsbruck
main
ground 52 Charlie 525 heavy with Mike ready to taxi IFR.
52 Charlie 525 heavy taxi to and hold short of runway 08 using taxiway. Contact tower on 120.1 when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 08 via taxiway 52 Charlie 525 heavy.
Okay, if you are flying this route, this exact route, this takeoff, you have to climb to at least 15,000 feet manually before you let that autopilot steer you. We are going to be taking off in mountainous peaks all around us, and if you activate your autopilot like you're used to, you're going to go right into the side of the mountain. So we're not going to be activating it as soon as we usually do. We're going to be waiting a little bit. Just keep that in mind. This is not a too beginner friendly route. If you can nail this down, you're doing pretty good. So I have my settings to where my co-pilot, aka the AI, is doing all the radio work and also giving me indicators of where to taxi. So you can see those indicators right there. Let's go ahead and make it to the runway and get out of here. If you're wondering about why I haven't input that last bit of information in yet, it's because the radio will give it to me right before our takeoff. They will provide all of that.
Innsbruck Tower 52 Charlie 525 Heavy ready for departure runway 08 IFR to Geneva.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy altimeter tree 0.21 wind calm. Cleared for takeoff runway 08.
Cleared for takeoff runway 08 52 Charlie 525 Heavy.
So just take that last little bit of information. If you do have a number there, you can go ahead and type it in here. As far as our temperature goes, just get that live. I'm just going to get some live stats so I can put them in here and show you guys. Okay, so we'll just go 005 at 2. This is the one part in the scratch pad where you do is actually use the slash and the format is right. Usually if you slash on the scratch pad, the format will not match up and it won't go in there. This is the one spot where you do want to do that. Next is the temperature, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. If you use Celsius, you can set that in your tablet settings in all of the units, and then it'll do metric and Celsius or centigrade or whatever you guys call it. Last, we're going to do our takeoff configuration check. We are normal, good to go. Get out of this radio, and we're out of here. I'm just going to see where I'm at here. I'm not familiar with this runway. Only flown it a couple of times. Ask me how I know about those mountains. Alright, so we have already been cleared for takeoff. That being said, line your airplane up. There's a couple of different ways of doing this. Typically, pilots are trained to have these lines going right between your feet. So imagine where your feet are at on the rudder pedals. Get it to where they're lined up right between your feet, and we're out of here. We are going manual full throttle to take off and go around for this departure for sure. And rotate is going to be here at 126. If you can see, we're just coming up to there, so about 10 degrees up, gear up, throttle down.
Decimal 452 Charlie 525 Heavy. Goodbye. The Vienna Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy is at 3,100 feet, climbing 12,000 feet.
I'm just looking at our radar here.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy,
maybe not.
Center altimeter 30.21 radar contact. Continue to
aggressively climb here. If you do risk the autopilot like I am, I would recommend expediting your climb. Then as soon as we come up to our speed, we can put up our flaps. I'm not going to do it until about 200 knots. The airplane can get, what ends up happening, especially if you are at higher altitude, is your envelopes change, meaning your stall speed gets faster the thinner the air is and the higher the altitude is. So if you're going underneath 200 knots, it's safe and, in my opinion, always optimal to have your flaps at 1. That's what I would do anyways in a real aircraft. If I do bring them up, you'll see that envelope. Look at how fast that creeps up. And if that yellow line hits that arrow enough, it will kick your autopilot off. So if your airspeed hits that orange stall indicator and you're relying on the autopilot, it will kick you off. So just be very careful with that. So it looks like we're pretty safe here. Let's see that we're cleared to 12,000 feet.
52 Charlie 525 heavy climb and maintain flight level 260.
Okay, so we were just cleared to
climb and maintain flight level 260, 52 Charlie 525 Heavy.
Mode. So this aircraft does most of it, all of its flying from this panel up here, your autopilot panel. It can be a little bit confusing when you're first getting to know it, because a lot of your navigation stuff that has nothing to do with the autopilot is right there too. So the way I would remember this is this panel right here, just these two dials and these two switches have nothing to do with actually flying the airplane. The things you are going to be changing to actually fly the airplane have already been set in your computer. As long as you have these dots on your heading and speed indicator, you're in what's called managed mode. Your airplane is flying your flight plan that you've programmed. If you ever need to adjust something manually, make sure that you always push these knobs if you want to stay in managed mode. If you want to go off and fly on your own, do what you want to do. But if you want to follow your actual plan and not get kicked out and screwed up, make sure that these dots are activated by pressing all of your knobs. It's always okay to press the knobs. So if you're not sure if your autopilot is configured right, it is always okay to press the knobs unless you're in final approach. And in that case, so you can see right here, how much of an envelope that changed. So I'm climbing more, and the aircraft could have stalled easily in just a couple of knots. So again, if you're climbing, it's best just to have your flaps set to 1. One thing you do want to check when you have departed is that your ground spoilers are no longer armed, or it'll just be on your screen for the rest of the duration of the flight. It doesn't actually do anything to activate them while you're in the air. Oh, I see what's going on here. The other thing is, a lot of times the autopilot will get confused with the thrust. If you move your throttle anywhere out of that little CL range, it'll kick your autopilot, your auto thrust off. It will not kick your autopilot off, but it will kick your auto thrust off. So as you can see now, our speed went way down. We're not actually traveling slower. You guys that know aviation know what's going on here. The reason that everything went down is because our air is much thinner up here. The aircraft measures our rate of speed via what's called a pitot tube. It's a small tube on the actual side of the aircraft, and the higher up you get, the thinner the air is, and everything changes. The aircraft will do all of those configurations aside from the flaps on its own. But if you get up and you're wondering, why am I only going, 150 knots? You're not. You're actually going like 250, maybe even 300. It's just because the air is drastically thinner the higher you go. Also, this dial right here that says ND's max range, that's just going to zoom your flight plan in and out. So the airplane wants me to lift my flaps up, but if you follow these instructions, you're going to get booted out of autopilot and you're going to stall. So we're not going to follow those instructions. This is called the Airbus tug of war between the autopilot and the pilot. This is a real thing. This is exactly what real Airbus pilots are dealing with. If you are now struggling with trying to reset and keep that autopilot right, know that it's a real problem that real pilots are facing. Now you can see our airspeed has finally changed and gone up, so now that we're higher up, we can go ahead and wait for our speed to get higher. We're getting closer, but especially up at this altitude, I am not bringing those flaps up until past 200. The second that airspeed indicator drops below that stall envelope, you are kicked out of altitude, you're kicked out of autopilot, and you have to manually correct and avoid a stall. We're not going to get into that unless I actually run into it. But you want to try to avoid that as best as possible. Okay, here we are at about 200 knots, and we can bring our flaps up. Watch how quick that rises up, especially with the altitude. And now we are good to go. So now the only thing you're going to want to watch for is turbulence. If you decide to let your fake passengers walk around, just watch out for that.
Charlie 525 heavy climb and maintain flight level 280.
Climb and maintain flight level 28052 Charlie 525 heavy.
And then you're going to want to watch out for ice. If ice shows up, anti-ice is just up here, wing, engine 1, engine 2. Other than that, just enjoy the ride. I will check back in with you guys here during our descent.
Charlie 525 Heavy. Goodbye. Munich Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, flight level 280.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Munich Center radar contact. Continue to DVX.
maintain flight level 28052 Charlie 525 Heavy. Climb and maintain flight level 28052 Charlie 525 Heavy.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck and Captain speaking. We've just reached our cruise altitude for flight, and begin to settle in. I do want to remind you to please keep your feet elbows clear from the aisle as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley cards shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating to the front galley where the flight deck door is located. Thank you.
Climb and maintain flight level 28052 Charlie 525 Heavy.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, contact Vienna Center on 124.4. Good day.
Going to 124.452 Charlie 525 Heavy. Vienna Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, flight level 280.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Vienna Center radar contact. Continue to Xebix.
If you ever get into the situation that I just did, where your altitude isn't matching up, it's most likely your altimeter is wrong. So at some point it must have changed, and I didn't hear it and change it. As you can see, the air traffic controller kept telling us you're not at your assigned altitude until you're 300 feet above it. When that happens, 9 times out of 10, it's just a wrong altimeter setting.
Heavy, contact Munich Center on 120.65. Good day.
120.65, 52 Charlie 525 Heavy. Goodbye. Munich Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, flight level 285.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Munich Center radar contact. Continue.
124.452 Charlie 525 Heavy. Goodbye. Vienna Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, flight level 285.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Vienna Center, radar contact, continue.
Going to 126.225 Charlie 525 Heavy. Zurich Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, flight level 285.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Zurich Center, radar contact, continue.
another bug I'll point out to anybody that's using dual screens and switching back and forth between programs. If you do switch back and forth and actually click on another program and come back, Flight Simulator has a bug to where it will put your throttles full and you'll hear your autopilot tell you that your auto throttle's off. Just click a button on your joystick or your mouse or your keyboard and that should get rid of it. So just one last thing I want to point out. This arrow right here is your approach arrow. You want to keep your eye on that. When you get to that arrow, you're going to want to activate your approach phase, if not a little bit sooner in our case. But in any case, you definitely want to keep an eye on it.
flight level 28052 Charlie 525 Heavy.
So what I just did there to fix my altitude and get it right was looked up the live altimeter settings just on my other monitor here, put it in, and then corrected it. And as you could hear, she told me to descend, and now we're at the correct 28,000 feet.
Climb and maintain flight level 28052 Charlie 525 Heavy.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, descend and maintain flight level 180.
Descend and maintain flight level 18052 Charlie 525 Heavy.
Alright, so for our initial descent, we're not going to quite activate our approach phase yet. I will show you how to get it up and ready though. So down back to the MCDU, we are going to go ahead and go into performance. We'll just go and activate
From
it.
the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial
Activate
descent
it now.
down to our
Just
destination. Now would be a good
activate
time to
your
wrap up
approach
any
phase,
business.
confirm. Good to go. Now, if we weren't expediting our descent, the aircraft would slow down pretty significantly. Once we get to that point, I will go ahead and show you about all that and how not to go too slow too early. Also, if you're wondering how I'm doing those announcements, I'm not. The airplane and mod will do all of that on its own as soon as it knows where it's at in your flight plan. So once it just reaches a certain destination, it will do all of that for you. So I think there may be some settings to do that manually, but if there are, it's going to be in your tablet. So we're just keeping an eye here. The main thing I'm watching is my primaries right here. I'm doing what's called my T-checks. So that's scanning from top to bottom, left to right. So checking, in this case, our speed is good, altitude is good. We are in managed navigation mode. And here we can see our airspeed is dropping down because we are in approach phase now, so it's going to drop down pretty significantly. You can see it wants to go all the way down to 127, which is going to be your landing speed. Do not let it get down to there yet. I will tell you how to do that. I'm just trying to see if I can get a QNH.
Going to 125.5552 Charlie 525 Heavy. Geneva Center 52 Charlie 525 Heavy is passing flight level 185, descending flight level 180.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, Geneva Center radar contact. Continue to tell them.
Anyways, to prevent the aircraft from going all the way down to your landing speed, just don't activate your flaps. Once you learn the Airbus's logic with the autopilot, it's a really good system.
Charlie 525 Heavy, descend and maintain 9,500 feet.
Descend and maintain 9,500 feet. 52 Charlie 525 Heavy.
I am going to go ahead and slow it down manually here with my speed brakes. You don't have to do that. You can go flying through here at 300 if you want. Definitely going to want to expedite your descents for these quick approaches like this. Your scratch pad will tell you that you have a too steep of a descent coming up. That just means if you activate the approach phase and expect it to get there on its own without expediting, doing some manual input, it's not going to do its thing. And as we get closer and closer, we're just going to keep setting our range shorter and shorter. Not quite ready to switch it into 40, but getting close. When you're about 40 knots away from your runway, I will show you how to activate your final approach phase. Until then, what you're going to want to do is set your flaps either at 1 or keep them at 0 in order to prevent your aircraft from slowing all the way down to the final approach speed, because it will do that if you set your flaps all the way down, because it will tell you on here at some point to set them to full. If you do that too soon, you're going to be stuck in your approach for an hour, and it will make it, but it's going to take forever. Now that we're at our altitude, just if you did use the speed brake, don't forget to get rid of it, or else that will interfere with everything you got going. And then as you can see here, there's a little green dot on my airspeed coming up at 200. That's going to be what the aircraft will stabilize off at if I do not lower my flaps. In other words, the airplane is completely ready for final approach. If the airport it is right in front of us, but if it were really going to be our approach straight ahead, we could theoretically just put it directly into final mode right now, and bring it right in. But as you can see, our flight plan consists of a few more twists and turns of a holding pattern. Also, if you're following along your flight plan, I probably should have told you this earlier, but your flight plan will definitely probably not look exactly like mine. That's okay. You didn't do anything wrong, probably. Just the main things that people typically struggle with in the bus is the old autopilot tug-of-war, and just getting flustered if the autopilot kicks off. Just remember, everything has to be exactly right to get the autopilot activated. So what I mean by that, your nose has to be 10 degrees or below. You have to be at your comfortable airspeed or your set managed airspeed, or at least within 10-15 knots of it or below, and you have to be in a climb. If those conditions aren't met, your autopilot will not activate. What ends up happening is, especially when new people are starting, they get flustered, take over the controls, get the airplane either going too fast, banking too high, too low, turning too sharp, and then try and reactivate the autopilot. Can't figure out why they can't. The main reason probably why you can't, if that's happening to you, is because your settings of the aircraft itself are not right. The configuration may not be right. Just take it one step at a time. If you don't have experience with aviation, this is definitely one of the, if not the most welcoming community for new people. So don't be afraid to make yourself known and get out there, or do the sim thing. If you can't fly for real and in real life, then welcome to the club. I'm right there with you, and we love having you here in the simming community. At least I do. And as you can see, if I would have brought the speed all the way down to 127, we would have had a very long approach in front of us, probably almost an hour. And that's happened to me before. And all you have to do is just manually bring your speed back up, bring your flaps back up, reset the autopilot, you're good to go. And I will be doing update videos in the future as I become more familiar with this whole system. I'm just to the point in getting back into Sims after a decade. So I've by no means mastered this system yet. I'm still learning the MCDU. That being said, it's a good system once you learn the actual logic of it. And when I say logic, I just mean the steps that you have to follow in order for the autopilot to correctly do everything. We're going to be doing an actual manual flare, So we're going to be deactivating our autopilot at about 100 feet, maybe 500. We'll see. Just play it by ear. This aircraft does have the ability to auto land, but you have to have both autopilots activated and quite a few parameters and variables met and in the right conditions. So we're not going to be doing that tonight. By the way, this entire process that you just went through, aside from the tablet on the left, is 100% how a real bus would operate in the sky. So if you have made it to this point and you can make it to touchdown, in theory, you know, you're not going to know how things actually feel. It's just like driving a car. You can't ever know how a car actually feels from a video game. But Sims in an aircraft is much different than just a video game with a car. You actually are learning the very literal processes and steps to fly this real aircraft. There is a very real reason actual pilots practice in simulators and acquire hours for that, especially full motion sims. That this does not count for that. This will not count towards your hours, obviously. However, this will absolutely count towards your skill and your overall understanding of the processes.
Descend and maintain 9,500 feet, 52 Charlie 525 heavy.
Okay, we finally got our altimeter, so we can set our altitude properly. Make sure to expedite. gonna start slowing down, guys. I take that back, not quite. I still have it zoomed out to 80. If you ever get stuck trying to get your throttle to the right setting without looking at it, just move it around until the green speed climb or anything other than manual shows up. So as soon as, yeah, we're starting to get in range here. I can show you what the airplane does if you bring your throttles or your flaps down. So I have the auto throttle armed and everything, and if you bring your flaps down to 1, it will slow down. And then if your airport was right there, you would bring them down again and again until you get them to full, and then lower your landing gear and you're good to go. In this case, we're going to bring them back up. If you get a stall warning, your autopilot will have to be reset. Don't be afraid to take over the throttle manually and set it back. It's no problem. It's not going to mess anything up. You can even, if you want, speed the process up. Anything below 10,000 feet, your speed limit's going to be 250 knots. So you can go that fast if you want, but your auto throttle will cut out. So I just wanted to show you. And if you do reset it, you have to make sure that your throttle's back below that setting until it gets right around that speed, or else it will go into manual and you'll keep going above your excuse me, above your managed speed. So we're just going to let the bus drive itself in until this D right here. When we get close to that, we're going to slow it all the way down, bring our flaps all the way down, gear down, and we'll touch down. I will check back in with you there.
106.25552 Charlie 525 Heavy. Approach 52 Charlie 525 Heavy 9,500 feet.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, approach altimeter 30.22 radar contact. Continue to Mullis. 52 Charlie 525 Heavy, you are tree 1 miles northeast. Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors RNAV runway 04 approach.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect vectors RNAV runway 04 approach 52 Charlie 525 Heavy.
One thing I have run into also is if you do end up bringing your range down here closer and closer, especially to like the 10 and 20 range, things are pretty dang close and you're going pretty fast. So one little thing that you mess up, like misconfiguration, having the flaps screwy, something like that, you don't have as much time. So it's best if you're new and not really familiar, especially with the area and setup, just keep it around 40 as you're coming in. That'll just kind of give you enough time to react if need be. up to that D where we are going to slow our airplane on down. We're going to do it the same way I showed you earlier with the flaps. This time we are actually on final, and we're going to bring our gear down when we get slow enough. I will also show you how to activate the autopilot so it brings you in correctly. So as you bring your flaps lower, just do it incrementally, meaning from 1 to 2, let your plane slow down, 2 to 3, let it slow down more, 3 to 4, into full. If you see that red getting you, if you see that red come down too far into your actual airspeed, bring them up 1 notch. You just lowered them a little too fast, that's all. There we go, full flaps. Landing gear not down, gear down. That'll go away on its own.
Flight attendants, please prepare for that.
All right.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy, you are 19 miles southwest of Geneva. Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Contact Geneva Tower on 119.7.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Tower on 119.752 Charlie 525 Heavy. Geneva Tower 52 Charlie 525 Heavy 18 miles southwest inbound RNAV runway 04 approach.
52 Charlie 525 Heavy Geneva Tower. Altimeter 30.19 wind calm cleared RNAV runway 04 approach.
Cleared RNAV runway 04 approach 52 Charlie 525 Heavy.
Okay, so we just got cleared for our final approach. What we're going to want to do here is intercept our localizer and ILS. And we can bring this pretty much all the way down. We want to get it out of managed flight mode as soon as we lock our localizer in. We can just bring that all the way down. If you're wondering why the altitude is so high, it's because we're up in the mountains. That's how actually high we are above sea level. Made it this far and don't have experience in aviation, definitely give yourself a pat on the back, because you are flying an instrument flight rules flight plan. You should be proud of yourself. This is a good accomplishment, and even if you do have experience in aviation, give yourself a pat on the back for making it this far. This is a big accomplishment. I don't expect you guys putting in any less than 50 hours into this to even get it down. So if you're just getting into it, just keep the basics up, keep learning, don't give up. As you can see, I got my runway in sight. I brought my altitude all the way down there, and it has 3,210 feet, as you can see. That's going to be the runway altitude. So even though I haven't brought down all the way to 100 here, it's already intercepted our localizer, which is just the signal this runway has given us to bring this airplane in on the proper glide slope. And heading, all of that stuff. So what I'm getting at is the airport is sending radio signals out that your airplane is receiving, and the inputs that we just did here configured it to steer itself all the way in via those radio signals. And that's how we can take off and land without seeing anything. And when everything's completely dark and cloudy and there's no visibility, that's how we're able to do this. And now you know how it's done from the flight deck.
2,500.
Theoretically, we can land an airplane with zero visibility at all. We're not usually allowed to do that, meaning you have to have at least like 10 feet, I think, in front of you, like just enough to see in fog. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you absolutely can land in commercial aircraft. So as you can see there, we popped out of managed flight mode. That's a good thing. Do not click back into managed flight mode.
52 Charlie
100 above.
5 heavy wind calm, clear to land runway 04.
And
Minimum.
we are clear.
Clear to land runway 0452 Charlie 525 heavy.
One 1,000.
I actually misspoke there. If you do pop out of managed, just pop it back in. There we go, and intercepted our glide slope there. Now we can see our cross here.
$400.
Right before touchdown, we're gonna turn our autopilot off, manually flare it, and reverse thrust. So to correct myself there on final, make sure you are always in managed flight mode and don't bring that altitude further down like I did.
Charlie 525 heavy contact ground on 121.68.
121.6852 Charlie 525 heavy. Goodbye.
And there's a couple spots where you have to drive to get your co-pilot to contact ground. So meaning once you touch down here, you'll get these little GPS navigation arrows. Just follow those. Sometimes you have to be at a certain spot to call ground and ATC, things like that. So if you actually touch down, if you have made it this far, very good job. I have a certificate for you to now print yourself out. It is down in the description below. Go ahead and download that, print it out, put it up on your wall. You're an A320 pilot. A couple of things I'm going to show you after we taxi in, and we will debrief. Alright, looks like that's that. So we are going to just go into our tablet here, go to ground and services. We're going to go ahead and bring us our jet bridge. Let's see if we're in the right spot here. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and spool up our APU and get out of here. We're done for the night. Go ahead and start her up. Give it a minute before you shut your engines off. Oh. Make sure your bridge is definitely lined up so those fake passengers get out. Definitely don't want that to happen. Alright, there we go. So now we will go ahead and disembark. And payload. If you want to set it to real, instant, fast, you can do whatever you want. Usually it gives you that option, we'll see. There we go, highlight it, disboard, deboard. Congratulations, pilot, you're done. You can go ahead and shut your lights off. Engines are off. We're done, guys. Congratulations. Take a look at your airplane from the outside if you want to. Watch any replays that you did. Congratulations. Catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.